Welcome to the TJ Malden Leadership Podcast, where we talk about life, leadership, and the gospel.
All right, what's up, everybody? I'm so glad that you are here today to hang out with me. Today, I want to talk about something it's not the easiest thing to talk. That's cheesy. I'm starting with the cheesy today. It's difficulty, okay? The opposite, right? The antagonist to ease and easy. I want to talk about difficulty. I was thinking the other day, I had this thought. It was really interesting. I thought, I've been going through some stuff in my personal life, and I'll share with you. I've talked about this for years. I have tinnitus. My ears ring. It drives me nuts. It makes me very frustrated at times. It's hard to concentrate, and it had been gone for a pretty good while. Or I say maybe gone. Maybe I just coped with it better. And about 80 days ago, my ears just started ringing again really loudly. And it was distracting, frustrating, struggled to sleep. And I was just kind of really going through it. Some anxiety, kind of that depression creeping back in, that like overwhelming sadness, like, oh, why me? This despair stuff. And kind of in the, staying in the Word, meeting my responsibilities, loving my family, doing all these things. But I was just carrying around for a little while, several weeks, just this heaviness of despair, of difficulty. And I recognized, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3, 4 weeks ago, I had a week where my ears weren't really ringing at all, and I'd kind of started forgetting about it again a little bit. And so I did a couple projects where at the end of it, I was like, I just really wasted some time. I just really kind of YOLO'd some time. And this is what I recognized. I was like, man, when things are really, really easy for me, and this may not be true for you, but when things are really, really easy for me, it becomes easier to be distracted. When I'm walking through difficulty or I'm walking through a little bit of healthy adversity, I am laser focused on what matters. I'm laser focused. I'm leaning into the scriptures in a unique way. I'm pressing into God. But there are times, if I'm being honest, when things are just easy, like when the Sunday sermon comes easy, that's not true. I stress every week about Sunday, and I don't ever think it's going to be good. But what other things, like when organizational leadership is coming easy, when friendships are coming easy, when family is easy, when things are easy, there are moments that I don't even think I realized until this last little bout with difficulty, that I can be distracted in the easy and can chase idols rather than prioritizing the most important things in my life. And I don't know if that's true for you, but I praise God that He's allowed me to walk through some of this difficulty over the last couple months, because it's cultivated, at least for me, a renewed sense of laser-focused commitment to the things that He's called me to and who I am in Him. And so I'm always going to give you some notes. So today, the first thing is this: difficulty is not always bad. Introduced pressure to our life is not always bad. And you've heard me say this before. You've heard 1,000 other leadership guys and ladies say this. It's like working out at a gym. We introduce intentional pressure so that we gain strength. But this week, I wanted to know, as I was even thinking and preparing this, I was like, I want to know what actually happens to the muscles. Like, why do we get stronger? What is the process? And I know this, obviously, big picture, but what does this look like on even a molecular level? And it was so interesting that there's something called stress damage, that when we begin to work out, when we begin to exert physical exercise, and we say you're building your biceps, your body, like, there's literal tears in the muscle, there's breakdown in the cells, like they are fatigued and they're broken. And so there has to be some growth, some repair, and then growth. And it's like this cycle of stress damage, repair, and through the stress damage and the time for repair, there comes growth. And I'm like, man, that is so true, not only of our cells in our body and our actual muscles, but that is true of our leadership. Like, difficulty is not bad. Introduced pressure is good because it tears down muscles that are going to continue to work, but allows them to be torn down and then repair so that they can grow and get bigger, so that they can carry more things, endure more difficulty, process more transactions, whatever that looks like, lead better, lead stronger, lead more efficiently. But there always has to be, if we really want to grow, there has to be intentional introduced difficulty. And so for me, thinking through this, I was like, all right, well, how does that flesh out for me? What should I do in those seasons where, and maybe it's not intentionally introduced. Like for me, with the ringing in my ears, you've heard me talk about it for years. Like it's not something I would choose. It's not something I like. It's something that limits my attention and focus sometimes and causes anxiety. It's something that if I had $1 million, I would pay $1 million for my ears to stop ringing. Like it's not something that I would choose. So if I'm experiencing difficulty, if it's intentionally introduced, or if it's organic difficulty because of my health, because of a relationship, because of geopolitical tension, because of the markets, because of a church issue or a church discipline issue, what should I do? Like, what should I do if I'm walking in difficulty right now? Check this out. Accept its introduction and avoid the easy way out. Avoid the easy way out. There will always be an opportunity to take the shortcut out of difficulty rather than leaning into the difficulty to see what we can learn from it, right? Like it's one of the reasons that I love having a workout partner at the gym or when I used to run. I've told you the story before, but I had a friend of mine who was in the military and we would run together. And when we started running together, he would run ahead of me and run in circles. And I would catch up. I would be almost just puking. Like it was terrible. My lungs were wanting to, push the eject button and get out of my body, like all of those things. And he would just run in circles. It annoyed me, like it frustrated me. So I started running harder and harder. And when he wasn't in town, I would run sprints. And I was like, he is not going to beat me. Like I'm going to catch up to him one day. And I've told this story before, but I'll never forget there was a time where I got better than him. And so I ran ahead of him and started running in circles. I was like, like I could do it too, buddy. Anyways, But like there was somebody there in the difficulty to remind me like, hey, dude, there's a finish line. Like this is not going to kill you. You're going to wake up tomorrow and you can face this again. And so I don't want to just look for ease. I don't want to just look for comfort. And I think sometimes, especially in our culture, like our forefathers had to adapt to difficulty. I think we have to introduce difficulty because all we've known is adaptation to ease. Like all of our technology makes our lives easier. All of our food, like grocery stores, fast food restaurants, make everything easier. But easy is not always good, and hard is not always harmful. And I was thinking about this, one of the points that I wanted to make when I was thinking about like embracing the difficulty, enduring the difficulty, letting it be a catalyst for growth. I think it's really, really good because I think what you get is this. There was a time where, as a society, every human had to hunt or gather their food, right? Like they had to prepare for winter. They had to either learn how to shoot a bow or throw a spear or set a trap, or they had to know like you did not want to be the guy that had to walk through the difficulty of finding out which berries were poisonous. You know what I'm saying? like there was somebody that ate the wrong berries that you were like, all right, Leroy is gone, but we're not eating the purple berries, guys. You know what I'm saying? So it's like easy. Like there was a time where it was so difficult even just to eat. We were hunters and we were gatherers, right? But now like we have McDonald's and you're like, man, it's so easy. Like I can go and get a 5 for $5. I can go and get a McChicken or a McRib or whatever. Like I can occasionally, seasonally, every 4 years when they bring the McRib back. But like I can go do this thing. But check this out. There was a time where we were hunters and gatherers, and it was very, very difficult to get a good thing. And humans were fit. Humans could survive. Humans had to work in community to gather their food, and they were overall, in many ways, more healthy. Now, getting our food is very, very easy, and it has made a lot of people struggle with obesity, with diabetes, right? Like you think about the implications of the food industry and how easy it is to get a lot of bread, how easy it is to get a lot of sugar, how easy it is to get your dinner. Like, and it's not like small portions. You can get a lot very easily. So it's led to more unhealthy people who struggle with the weight and who struggle with like I said it already, but diabetes, hypertension, all these things, because it's easy. If it was more difficult to get our food, like the implication would be better on our bodies. And I started thinking about that. Like, man, I think a lot of us are wired to get away from the pain, like to press away from the difficulty. But at the end of the day, like I would just encourage you to remember that difficulty is not always bad, and that sometimes ease can lead to more distractions and a more unhealthy environment. The second thing is this: difficulties, not only are difficulties not always bad, difficulties illuminate priorities. I was having this conversation with my wife. She was asking me, Tay was like, so what are you going to talk about on the podcast? And I said, well, I'm going to talk about difficulty. And I said, I think I might even use my ears and what I've been through a little bit just to kind of communicate, some difficulty. I said, because this is what I realized, and this is what I've realized even recently. When my ears are like really, really ringing, and it's a struggle to sleep and a struggle to focus on certain things, when that happens, I don't care about any of my hobbies. I don't care about going fishing. I don't care about hunting. I don't care about archery. I don't care about anything else. In those moments where that it's really bad and it causes some anxiety, all I want is to be a good dad, a good husband, a good pastor, and a good friend. It's crazy. Like when I'm walking through difficulty, I'm like, all right, Lord, you bargain with God. And if you say you don't, you're just a liar. So we all bargain, but it's like, God, if you would just, if I could just be a good dad, a good husband, like a good pastor, a good friend, like forget all this other stuff. And then I realize I'm like, wait, like this difficulty has allowed me to clarify what's really important to me. Like when everything hits the fan and life gets tough, the things that really, really matter have sifted to the surface. And so when things get difficult, we become aware of what is most important. It's kind of like that reality when a family member passes away and it's like the light bulb goes off for other family members of like, hey, maybe we should spend more time together. Maybe we should forgive each other for some of the infractions of the past or whatever it is. When difficult things happen, the things that really matter sift to the surface. So we should embrace difficulty, and I don't mean make it your identity, like woe is me, but we should embrace it rather than trying to just escape it all the time, because it does allow us, it brings clarity and allows us to see what is most important in our lives. And I'll just say it like this: a lack of difficulty can lead to distractibility. When I suffer, I think of what matters, right? I think of what matters. Going back to the running analogy, like when you're running as fast as you can, all you want to do is breathe. Like the only thing that matters to you is getting more air in your lungs. You become incredibly aware. You don't care what clothes you're wearing. You don't care who's passing you in the street. Like when you're at that 3-mile mark and you've been running 7-minute splits and you're just like your lungs are just yearning for air. You don't care about anything else but oxygen. It's the same thing with us. When we walk through difficulty, when we walk through hardship, allow those moments to clarify what's most important to us and really refine our priorities. The third is this: it demands creativity. So not only is difficulty not always bad, not only does it illuminate our priorities, but difficulty demands creativity. All right? And again, I'll just use my ears because it's accessible and it's readily available to me even now in this room. I can hear it. So it demands creativity. Listen, I've tried all these kinds of things. Like I've tried essential oils. I've tried like, maybe it's my blood pressure. I won't drink, I was like, maybe I'll go without caffeine. I've ordered these special earplugs so that even if I'm at a loud lunch, I'll put like these special earplugs where I can still hear people talking, but it doesn't increase. Like, y'all, I'm telling you, like I've laid on like lemon peels upside down in I'm joking. I've never done any of that, but I would if it worked. You know what I'm saying? I try. So, but it demands creativity. Like difficulties, like, okay, I don't know how to deal with this, or I don't know how to get out of this scenario. And it's the same way with leadership, right? There have been moments where it's like, okay, we're having this problem with a staff member, or in relationships, like my wife and I are arguing or frustrated about something and we're at an impasse. I've got to get creative and she's got to get creative, right? It's like, okay, how do we resolve this? Like we got to attack this from a different perspective. We got to figure something out. Like that's so true of our lives. Difficulty demands creativity. It drives us to make, remake, and experiment in our lives so that the difficulty doesn't ruin us, but it rebuilds us. So that the difficulty doesn't tear down and continue. Because here's what I think happens sometimes. In that the stress damage, repair, and growth cycle, I think some people get stuck in the stress damage where it's just like their lives are defined by the difficulty and the stress rather than like figuring out the repair and beginning to grow. And so difficulty demands creativity. And the detour, the difficulty can actually lead to the breakthrough. Like this is what this again, I'll just go to my ears. When there are moments where I've struggled with my ears ringing and tinnitus and listen, 50 million other I feel like such a baby sometimes when I talk about my ears, because some people are like, I talk to farmers and like old timers around me like, yeah, by God, my ears have been ringing for 40 years. Just turn the TV up when you go to sleep at night. You'll be fine. And I'm like, I'm literally going crazy, I think. But it's like in those moments sometimes when things are really difficult and I'm like just seeking the Lord, I have recognized idols that I don't think I would have recognized had I not been going through difficulty. The second is this: I have been made aware of sin that I did not know that I was comfortable sweeping under the rug in my own heart, my own mind, because of the difficulty. When things were easy and everything was smooth, like it was easy at times, I think, to gloss over even some of the sinful patterns in my heart or my mind. But the difficulty introduced like real clarity on some of my idols that I'd propped up even before the Lord probably in my life, and some of the sin that I was kind of treating as trivial when it was actually decaying my heart and my soul. So the detour and the difficulty really in many ways can become a breakthrough. I'll give you the story really quick. Apollo 13. You remember when Tom Hanks went to the moon? Or when he was supposed to? Wasn't it Tom Hanks? Right, Dad? Tom Hanks? Okay. Are you too young for y'all? Ryan. Anyways, Ryan is too young for Apollo 13. It was a great movie where Tom Hanks didn't go to the moon. He was, obviously just an actor. There's a snake in my boot. Anyways, that guy, Ryan, you're more familiar with Toy Story. All right. Anyways, Apollo 13. This is a recount of a true story. So they're going to the moon, right? They're going to land on the moon, but oxygen tank blows up and it compromises the ship they're on. They lose oxygen, they lose the ability to filter the CO2 in the cabin, and they lose water. And so on the fly, as the Apollo 13, they were communicating back and forth with NASA at Houston. They were having these conversations. They had to remake, using what they had on board, they had to re-engineer parts of the spaceship so that they could survive and potentially get home. So like they use water bottles and socks in one of the things that they made to filter out CO2 in the cabin. Like it was wild, but it was the difficulty and the adversity that led them to have to remake and rewire and re-engineer the entire ship so that they could get home and be safe. And I think, man, there's so many times in our lives where the difficulty makes us think outside the box. And, it makes me at times, okay, I've got to lead differently here. I've got to take apart the ship I've built, and I've got to rebuild this because there's new passengers that they don't always think the same, or, they don't always function the same, or in my marriage, my friendships, my parenting, like I've got to rework some of these things so that I can land this spaceship safely with everyone still on it. And so don't always push back against the difficulty. Allow the difficulty in your life, in your relationships, in your job to bring to the surface the creativity that might be that might just be untapped because everything's been easy for you. The last one is this, and this is probably my favorite. Not only is difficulty not always bad, it definitely illuminates our priorities, and it demands creativity. It makes us think outside the box so that we can, rebuild the things that we need to rebuild, remake some things that we need to remake so that we can get to where we're going in the way that God called us to and safely. But the last one is this: it builds confidence. Like difficulty, if we go through the stress damage, repair, and growth cycle, difficulty builds confidence. There's a story in the Old Testament where I love David in the Bible because Scripture says he was a man after God's own heart. He had some incredible victories. He had some insane failures, okay? And I love that because it reminds me often that God still uses broken pieces to make incredible masterpieces, right? And so David, there's this moment where this Philistine, David and Goliath, you've heard this story before, or maybe you haven't, and this is a quick Old Testament story for you. This giant is just like standing in the field, hurling insults against the people of Israel, hurling insults against the God of Israel, and David overhears it. Now, he's a kid at the time. He's a young guy. He's small. They called him Ruddy. All right, like this small little red-haired dude, right? This fair-complected, like small little guy. And he hears this giant hurling these insults, and he goes to the king. He's like, "Bro, listen, we gotta take this dude out. Like, we can't stand for these insults. Like, somebody's got to fight this guy." And they kind of laugh him off at first. They're like, "Bro, you're way too young. There's no way this is going to happen." He's like, No. Listen, I've encountered a bear, and I killed it. I encountered a lion. He was a shepherd. He's like, I've encountered a bear, and I killed him with my bare hands. I encountered a lion, and I killed him as well. This Philistine doesn't stand a chance. This giant doesn't stand a chance. So you know what he did? He drew on past moments of difficulty. And the past moments of difficulty gave him the confidence to face the current difficulty. And if we would remember those moments that God has taken us through difficult seasons, difficulty will build in our hearts confidence in God for every one of us. I believe this to be true. If you know Jesus and you follow Jesus, you call yourself a believer. For those of you that might not be, just keep tracking with me. You can glean something from this too. But for those of you that call yourselves a believer, there are so many moments in your life. If you're facing difficulty today, there are so many moments that you can look back on and say, there was the bear. There was the lion. There was the bear. There was the lion. I've been here before. I've been at the face of adversity before. I've felt the difficulty of depression before. I've felt the difficulty of heartache before. I felt the difficulty of changing management or organizational flow charts or finances or whatever it is. I've felt these difficulties before, and the lion's dead. The bear's dead. Like, God has brought me through these things before, and he's still the same God today, yesterday, and forever. So when I think back on, I'm not going to get too preachy, but man, when I think back on all the lions and all the bears, like all the moments of difficulty that God has brought me through, difficulty, it doesn't disenfranchise me from the love of God or the goodness of God or the faithfulness of God. It builds my confidence in God because through every moment of difficulty, he's always been there, and there's always been another side. So difficulty, if I allow it to, it builds my confidence in God, and it builds my confidence in myself, in our ability to persevere, in my ability to persevere. Repeated wins, no matter the size, remind me. I've shared this quote before, even on here. I think it was 32 or 33 episodes ago. But Steve Harvey one time said, you have a 100% success rate in everything you've been through up to this point. He said, you made it through everything, no matter how bad, no matter how beautiful, no matter how dark, no matter how, how glorious it might have been. You have 100% success rate of making it through everything you've been through until now, up until this point. So if I embrace difficulty, not as my identity, but something that's natural in this world that we all have to go through, if I embrace the difficult cycle, we'll call it the difficulty cycle, to where there's stress, damage, repair, and growth, not only will difficulty build my confidence in God, but it builds my confidence in myself. Like, bro, by the grace of God, you've built systems, you've strategized, you've been creative, you've been able to do these things that brought you and yourself, like you've landed the Apollo back on Earth when everyone should be dead in space. You can do this, you know? And so for every one of us, there are these moments where difficulty, if we do not despair and lose heart in the middle of it, it builds our confidence in God, and it will build our confidence in ourselves. Here's the last one, and this is kind of where we'll wrap this thing up, but it builds confidence. It builds my confidence in others. Like when I walk through seasons of difficulty, you always have this wonder, or I've thought this before when I've walked through seasons of hardship, whether it be with my ears or I have interesting family dynamics. You guys know I've shared this with you before. I'm from a broken home, and all the relationships aren't all pristine and peaceful all the time, and they can be very difficult. And there have been seasons where I've walked through difficulty and I've been vulnerable or transparent with people around me. And like that's always a gamble for a pastor, I feel like, right? Because people are either going to use that usually to be like, to try to find the chink in your armor, which it's very easy if you're looking at my armor, right? But they, people want to be kind of act like the Holy Spirit, and they want to humble you, and they want to keep you humble and remind you what you're not. People love to do that to pastors, and honestly, anyone in leadership. But what I've found, those moments that I've embraced difficulty and I've honored the Lord in it, and I've allowed it to build my confidence in God and build my confidence in others, what I've recognized is that when I've walked through difficulty, there are people who are quick to lift my arms when I can't lift my arms before I even ask. And so in difficulty, you find out who your people are, who your family is. Like you find out those special graces that embody the gospel in the lives of other people all around you when you walk through seasons of difficulty. And I wanted to wrap this up this way because I think this is the beautiful aspect of difficulty. Like difficulty can derail you. Like it can disenfranchise you. Like it can cause you infinite despair, or you can submit your life to that Holy Spirit difficulty cycle. And that stress damage can happen. You can begin to repair and you can begin to grow. And this is what you'll realize. There's always somebody, at least my case, and it's usually my staff, like Lindley, Graco, Ryan, Daniel, Matt, Kenny. I can name tons of people around me who, before I even realize it, like they see me struggling with the dumbbells and their hands are under my arms lifting up the weight before I even know it. Like, and that's the beauty of difficulty, right? Like if I was strong enough to handle everything, I wouldn't need anybody. And so it illuminates for me my need for God, my need to have confidence in who God has made me, confidence in myself, and confidence in the community that God has put around me. Like I need repeated grace from people. I need correction. I need encouragement. I need somebody to lift up my arms when I am weak and I'm struggling. And if we think, like, listen, if you're listening into this, if you're a leader, a business owner, a dad, a husband, a pastor, and you think that you're not going to experience moments of weakness and fatigue that could lead to failure, and you're not going to need someone to catch your arms and spot you and lift you up, you are mistaken and prideful, and your fall will be terrible. So look for those people that will lift up your arms. Look for those people that will rally around you, who will be strength for you when you are not strong. Because difficulty will come. We're going to call it the difficulty cycle. When it happens in your life, it will lead you to despair, or it will build confidence. Confidence in God, confidence in yourself, and confidence in the people that God has sovereignly placed in your life to care for you on those difficult days. Remember this, difficulty is not always bad. Difficulty will illuminate your priorities. It will pull from you creativity, and it will build confidence in you if you let it. So listen, thanks so much. I say it every time. It baffles me that you would even hang out with me and listen to me just chatter for a while. But I really enjoy our time together, and I appreciate you allowing me to gift you. This is what I feel like I do when these podcasts to me. It's not me just talking about some notes. I feel like I'm gifting you little roadmaps from my life. You know what I mean? I know Ryan would definitely not know. If he didn't know Apollo 13, he don't remember this, but they used to have maps on paper that you had to read going down the road, okay, back in the day. That's what I feel like these podcasts are. I feel like maybe some of you are old enough to remember MapQuest. You would actually print it out from your computer. But I feel like these podcasts are little maps that I get to hand you so that prayerfully you got at least one more voice in your life reminding you that you can make it. One more voice reminding you that God is good. One more voice reminding you that the difficulty, though it may be present, it's momentary. And I guess I'll close with Habakkuk chapter 3, where he said, though the fig tree does not bud and the olive branch may fail, He said, there's no food in the pantry. And I'm summarizing for you. There's no cattle in the stall. There's no sheep in the pen. There's no livestock in the pastures. Like, we don't have anything. It's really difficult. He ends with this. He says, yet I will rejoice in the Lord, and I will take joy in the God of my salvation. So no matter how difficult the day is, the Lord can bring repair and growth so that you can have a testimony at the end of this test. I love y'all. Thanks for hanging out. You want to know anything? You want me to talk about anything? TJ Malden at Leadership podcast@gmail.com. That's the one. Do that one. And I'd love to chat with you, and I'd love to hear from you. Love y'all. See ya.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the TJ Malden Leadership Podcast, where we talk about life, leadership, and the gospel. If you enjoyed this episode, share with a friend. For more content, follow us on Instagram and YouTube. If you have any questions you would like to ask TJ, whether it is about life, leadership, or the gospel, you can email those to tjmaldenleadershippodcast@gmail.com. Thank you again for listening, and we hope you join us again on the TJ Malden Leadership Podcast.